Admiral Krok stood on the command bridge of the Devastator, pride of the Zarnaxian Empire's conquest fleet. His scales gleamed under the harsh lights as he surveyed the bridge crew. Every member of his species had evolved to inspire terror-serrated teeth lining triple-hinged jaws, eyes that glowed with bioluminescent menace, and retractable bone spurs that could extend from nearly every joint. Thousands of worlds had surrendered upon merely seeing a Zarnaxian. Status report on the primitive planet, Krok demanded, his voice modulated to hit the fear centers of most sentient brains. Lieutenant Commander Drax winced at his superior's tone. The blue world appears technologically limited, Admiral. They call it Earth. Their most advanced vessels barely leave their atmosphere. A conventional conquest protocol suggests a standard fear display will secure immediate capitulation. Excellent. Krok's mouthparts clicked in satisfaction, open communications with their leaders. Let us introduce ourselves properly. The massive view screen flickered to life, revealing a human woman in a crisp uniform adorned with modest insignia. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, and she wore an expression that could only be described as mildly interested. This is Captain Mina Rodriguez of the United Earth Defense Force. Welcome to our solar system. She paused, squinting slightly. Is your video feed working correctly? You appear to be glitching? Krok was extending his terror spines to their full, impressive length, a display that had caused planetary representatives to faint on multiple occasions. Inhabitants of Earth, Krok bellowed in his most terrifying register, I am Admiral Krok of the almighty Zarnaxian Empire. Your world is now under our dominion. Resistance is… Hang on, Rodriguez interrupted, holding up one finger. Are those supposed to be scary spikes coming out of your body? Because they look like party toothpicks. Jerry, are you seeing this? She called to someone off-screen. Krok froze mid-threat, spines still fully extended. What? These are fear spines. They have evolved over millions of years to. They look like those cocktail umbrellas without the paper, Rodriguez continued, now openly smiling. The ones they put in fruity drinks. The bridge of the Devastator fell silent. Nothing in the Conquest manual covered this reaction. Perhaps your species does not understand, Krok tried again, commanding the ship's computer to release terror pheromones into the communication signal, a technique that had broken the will of the mighty Plorvian collective. Rodriguez sneezed. Sorry about that, allergies. Anyway, we're transmitting standard first contact protocols now. Let us know when you're ready for the diplomatic delegation. As the transmission ended, Krok turned to his second in command. What just happened? Drax looked equally perplexed. I believe, Admiral, that they weren't afraid. Impossible. Run a species analysis immediately. Hours later, the Zarnaxian High Command gathered around a holographic display showing intercepted transmissions from Earth. The images made no sense, humans willingly jumping from great heights attached to elastic cords, consuming plants known to cause extreme mouth pain, and watching entertainment featuring creatures far more terrifying than Zarnaxians. Is this some kind of psychological warfare? Krok whispered. In the adjacent diplomatic bay, Captain Rodriguez and her team boarded with gifts including something called hot sauce and media files labeled horror movies, the good stuff. The first contact with humanity was not proceeding according to the Imperial Conquest Handbook, and Admiral Krok had a sinking feeling they hadn't even seen the worst of it yet. Intelligence Officer Vex Xor sat hunched over his analysis station, multiple eyes blinking independently as they scanned different screens. 3 standard planetary rotations had passed since first contact, and he'd barely moved from his post. His normally slick exoskeleton had developed a concerning dullness, a sure sign of Zarnaxian distress. Sir, I've compiled the human behavior analysis, Vex Xor reported as Admiral Krok entered the intelligence chamber. And frankly, it's disturbing. Explain. Krok's spine ridges rippled with tension. These humans, Vex Xor pulled up video footage that made several junior officers gasp. They deliberately seek out dangerous situations for enjoyment. The screen showed humans surfing massive waves, climbing sheer cliff faces without safety equipment, and willingly eating something called ghost peppers that caused visible distress. This can't be representative of their species, Krok argued. Perhaps these are their warrior caste? That's what I thought initially, but no. These are ordinary citizens. They call these activities extreme sports or challenges. They compete to see who can endure the most discomfort. Krok's primary heart skipped a beat. Are they immune to fear? Worse, Vexor clicked a control, showing humans in a theater. They deliberately expose themselves to simulated threats for entertainment. They call it horror and pay currency to experience it. The door hissed open, interrupting their horrified analysis. Captain Rodriguez entered with a tall, lanky human male wearing a lab coat and glasses that magnified his already unsettlingly curious eyes. Admiral Krok, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jack Freeman. He's volunteered to help your team understand human physiology and psychology. He's very excited to examine your species as well. Dr. Freeman stepped forward with an enthusiasm that made several Zarnaxians instinctively extend their defensive spines. Fascinating exoskeletal development. Sir. No. Those protrusions, may I? Without waiting for permission, he reached toward Krok's arm spines, completely disregarding the fact that they could puncture his flesh with minimal pressure. Careful. Krok recoiled. These are venomous. Even better. Freeman's eyes lit up. I'd love a sample for analysis. The potential pharmaceutical applications could be revolutionary. Vexor frantically pulled up human medical data on his screen. Sir, their medical technology is surprisingly advanced. They routinely poison themselves with chemicals to cure disease, replace organs, and inject toxins into their faces to appear more attractive. Freeman nodded enthusiastically. Botox, derived from one of the most lethal toxins on Earth. We figured out it could reduce wrinkles, humanity in a nutshell. Really, we see something dangerous and think, I wonder if this could make me prettier. Admiral Krok exchanged glances with Vexor. This was not a psychological profile they were prepared for. Every conquest strategy relied on exploiting fear, but how do you subjugate a species that runs toward danger rather than away from it? Later that evening, in his private quarters, Krok reviewed footage of humans deliberately cramming themselves into metal containers that hurled them upside down at high speeds roller coasters. They were called Computer, Update Conquest Strategy, Krok murmured. The classification, High Caution. The humans appear far more dangerous than anticipated. They may be the most terrifying species we have ever encountered. The computer chimed in acknowledgement, while on the screen, humans raised their arms and screamed in apparent delight as they plummeted down a steep track, directly toward what looked like certain death. Begin intimidation protocol Epsilon 9, Admiral Krok commanded, his voice echoing through the bridge. After a week of studying these baffling humans, it was time to implement standard conquest procedures. Epsilon 9 had broken the will of the notorious warrior race from Proxima Centauri within hours. The Devastator's exterior transformed, projecting massive holographic predator imagery around the ship. Simultaneously, subsonic fear frequencies began broadcasting toward Earth, while the atmosphere was seeded with mild hallucinogens designed to enhance terror responses. Krok watched the view screen with satisfaction as the massive illusion of an ancient cosmic predator, teeth the size of mountains, eyes like dying suns, materialized in Earth's sky. Sir, incoming transmission from Earth, Drax announced, sounding perplexed. The screen changed to show Captain Rodriguez. Behind her, humans weren't cowering in terror, they were pointing cameras skyward. Admiral Krok, is this light show for us? It's trending on all social media platforms. Space Whales is the top hashtag worldwide. She looked genuinely pleased. If this is your version of cultural exchange, it's a hit. Though some of our citizens are reporting mild hallucinations, is that intentional? Because several music festivals are asking if you can provide the same effect for their events next month. Before Krok could respond, another human bounded into view, a muscular man with a thrill-seeker's glint in his eye. Dude, those effects are sick, the newcomer exclaimed. Lieutenant Buzz Riker, Extreme Experience Coordinator. Quick question, can people fly through the illusion? I've got skydivers and wingsuit jumpers absolutely dying to pass through those teeth. Krok's terror spines retracted in confusion. These are manifestations of your species' primal fears. They're designed to trigger your deepest ancestral terrors. Riker laughed. Brah, have you seen our ocean creatures? That thing up there looks like a friendly whale compared to a goblin shark. Google it. In the background, Rodriguez was coordinating with Earth authorities. Tell Tokyo to prepare for increased tourism. Yes, I know it looks like they're kaiju films. No. I don't think the aliens understand the concept of monster movies yet. Krok slammed his clawed appendage on the command console. Initiate Phase 2. The Zarnaxians deployed their infiltration units, small, but spider-like robots programmed to scuttle into human habitations during sleep cycles and whisper personalized fears directly into unconscious minds. This technique had caused mass hysteria on 12 different planets. 3 days later, Krok, the ship's elite warrior, reported the results with uncharacteristic nervousness. The infiltration units were captured. Admiral. Captured? How? Krok pulled up footage of humans discovering the devices. Rather than panic, they showed delight. Or WW. It's like a little robot spider. A human child exclaimed on the recording. Can I keep it, Non? I'll name it Skitters. Another video showed adult humans reverse engineering the units. These would make killer Halloween decorations, one remarked. Krok, the most decorated terror warrior in the fleet, seemed uncharacteristically intrigued. Their response to danger is unusual, Admiral. When I remotely activated defense protocols causing the units to hiss and display warning colors, the humans laughed. One said, and I quote, "It's grumpy, just like my cat." Krok paced the bridge. Nothing works on these creatures. What do they fear? The answer came from an unexpected source, the ship's communications officer Plix, who had been monitoring human transmissions. Sir. Baza. Plix reported, based on their entertainment and news, humans aren't fearless. They just fear different things: financial insecurity, social rejection, climate change, and something called Monday mornings. Also, tiny arachnids called spiders, which is ironic considering they're adopting our terror bots as pets. Krok stared at the view screen showing Earth's blue expanse. So they don't fear death, predators, or cosmic horrors, but they fear paperwork. Precisely, sir, Plix confirmed. And something called their ex texting them after midnight. The bridge fell silent as the implications set in. The Zarnaxian Empire's entire conquest strategy would need to be reconsidered. The Grand Hall of the Devastator had been converted for the official cultural exchange, a diplomatic nicety that usually preceded formal planetary surrender. Instead of the typical arrangement designed to emphasize Zarnaxian dominance, the space now contained various Earth artifacts requested by Captain Rodriguez. I still think this is inadvisable, Vexor muttered to Admiral Krok as they waited for the human delegation. We need to understand them better, Krok replied. Conventional methods have failed spectacularly. The doors slid open, and the human delegation entered. Leading them was Rodriguez, alongside Dr. Freeman and Lieutenant Riker, plus several cultural specialists carrying containers of varying sizes. Thank you for hosting us, Admiral, Rodriguez began formally. We've brought representative samples of human entertainment and cuisine to share. What followed was 3 hours of what could only be described as orchestrated chaos. First came the movie night. The humans projected something called The Exorcist, which they classified as a classic, bit dated but still solid, while the humans munched on popcorn. The Zarnaxians watched in horror as humans on screen contorted impossibly, spewed substances, and were possessed by entities, all for entertainment. This is enjoyable? Drax whispered, his scales having faded to a sickly grey. Oh yeah, this is mild, Riker replied, mouthful. Wait till you see the modern stuff. This is Grandma's horror. The communications officer Plix, however, couldn't look away. The narrative structure is fascinating, he commented, leaning forward when others recoiled. You create these scenarios specifically to trigger fear responses? Voluntarily? Exactly, Dr. Freeman enthused. Controlled fear in safe environments provides an adrenaline rush without actual danger. It's like emotional exercise. Next came human cuisine, specifically a hot sauce tasting. Despite warnings, several Zarnaxian officers participated. The results were immediate and catastrophic, as their highly sensitive chemoceptors overloaded. Water. Require water, screamed a junior officer, while Krok himself remained stoically suffering, refusing to show weakness even as his inner eyelids rapidly fluttered in distress. "And milk works better than water," Rodriguez suggested helpfully, passing over white containers. "The capsaicin is oil-based." "You consume this for pleasure," wheezed Krok after recovering. "Some of us build up tolerance over time," she explained. "There are actual competitions." Meanwhile, Plix had somehow obtained a human smartphone and was scrolling through something called TikTok with increasing fascination. "Admiral, humans deliberately scare each other for brief entertainment videos. It's their most popular content format." As the evening progressed, a clear division formed among the Zarnaxian crew. Most recoiled from human culture with increasing horror, but a small faction led by Plix and, surprisingly, Warrior Gronk showed growing fascination. "Their ability to transform fear into entertainment is tactically brilliant," Gronk observed quietly to Plix. "They've weaponized their own terror response. I've never seen anything like it." Later, in the emergency command meeting, Admiral Krok faced an uncomfortable reality. "Our psychological warfare is completely useless against them," he admitted to his senior staff. "They've developed immunity through voluntary exposure." "What's our alternative conquest strategy?" Vexor asked. "The Empire expects results." Krok stared at the human cultural objects left behind a horror movie collection, hot sauces with names like Death Wish and Colon Destroyer, and an amusement park promotional brochure featuring humans screaming on various death-defying contraptions. "I'm beginning to think," Krok said slowly, "that we may have encountered the one species in the galaxy more terrifying than ourselves." "To prepare the Phobos device." Admiral Krok's command silenced the bridge. In 3,000 years of conquest, the Zarnaxian Empire had only deployed the Phobos device 11 times. Its use required direct authorization from the Emperor himself. "Sir," Drax ventured cautiously, "are you certain? The Phobos device has caused entire civilizations to surrender by manifesting their deepest collective unconscious terrors. The psychological damage is extensive. We have no choice." Krok's scales darkened to the Imperial war pattern. "These humans are impervious to our standard methods. The Emperor demands results." As the massive device resembling a crystalline orb with pulsating neural filaments was brought online, Dr. Freeman and Lieutenant Riker were being given an accidental tour of non-sensitive areas by Plix, who had developed a concerning addiction to human horror movies and something called energy drinks. "So this is our atmospheric regulation chamber," Plix explained, deliberately misidentifying the tertiary weapons bay. "Nothing interesting here." Riker wasn't paying attention, instead fixated on a passing crew member. "Dude, your exoskeletons are amazing. Do you shed them?" "Can I have one if you do? It would make the most metal Halloween costume ever." "Halloween?" asked Plix. "Holiday where we dress up as scary things for fun," Riker explained. "Monsters, ghosts, tax auditors, the whole fear spectrum." Meanwhile, Dr. Freeman had wandered toward a pulsing light. "Fascinating architecture. Everything on your ship seems designed to subtly discomfort visitors as symmetrical corridors, frequencies just outside comfortable hearing range, lighting that creates subtle shadow movements." Hicks beamed with pride. "Yes, our entire civilization is built around the psychology of terror. Our architects studied for decades till he stopped abruptly, realizing he was revealing too much." "That explains a lot," Freeman nodded. "Your species evolved fear as your primary evolutionary advantage, didn't you? While we developed tools and social cooperation, you specialized in being the scariest thing in your ecosystem." Before Plix could respond, alarms blared. The Phobos device had been activated. On the bridge, Admiral Krok watched with grim satisfaction as the device powered up, its energy tendrils reaching toward Earth, scanning billions of minds for their deepest collective fears. Soon, those fears would manifest physically across the planet, driving humanity into paralyzing terror. "The device at full power," reported the science officer. "Psychic matrix engaged. Earth's collective unconscious is being processed now." Krok leaned forward. "Show me what they fear most." The view screen flickered, showing the manifestation taking shape in Earth's atmosphere, and Krok's mandibles dropped in confusion. "What is that?" "Do it." The manifestation showed humans in small cubicles, staring at screens filled with spreadsheets, while clocks ticked endlessly. Others showed declined credit cards, social media posts with 0 likes, and awkward dinner conversations with romantic partners asking, "So where is this relationship going?" "Sir," the science officer said, bewildered, "it appears their deepest fears are mundane daily anxieties." Earth's response was immediate and completely unexpected. "Admiral," Drax called out, "we're receiving thousands of transmissions. Humans are. They're taking images of the manifestations and sharing them with comments like mood and same and me on Monday mornings." Rodriguez's face appeared on screen. "Admiral, this light show is even better than the last one. Did you tap into our collective anxieties? Because it's incredibly relatable content. Cosmic Mood Board is trending worldwide." As Krok struggled to comprehend this reaction, an even more alarming development unfolded. Deep in the ship, Plix had accidentally allowed Freeman and Riker into a maintenance junction that connected to the main computer core. "What does this terminal do?" asked Riker, pressing buttons randomly. "Don't touch that." Plix lunged, but too late. The screen activated, displaying the Empire's conquest database, thousands of worlds catalogued by their fear responses, conquest strategies applied, and psychological weaknesses. Every species entry ended with the same result: surrendered after fear display. Dr. Freeman adjusted his glasses, scanning the information with dawning comprehension. "You've conquered thousands of worlds without firing a shot, just by being scary. Is that not normal?" Plix asked hesitantly. "Dude," Riker laughed, "that's like finding out the biggest bully in school is actually all talk and jazz hands." Freeman's expression turned serious. "Your entire empire is built on a bluff. What happens when species realize you don't actually have the conventional military power to back it up?" For the first time, Plix felt something humans would instantly recognize: existential dread. Back on the bridge, Admiral Krok received the most disturbing report yet. "Sir," Vexor reported, voice trembling, "we've identified what actually frightens humans. They're terrified of boredom, meaninglessness, discovering their entire existence has no purpose. That's not weaponizable." Krok exploded. "No, sir," Vexor agreed. "But there's something else they truly fear: the thought that they're alone in the universe." Krok froze, suddenly understanding. "Contact Captain Rodriguez immediately. I need to speak with her before it's too late." Admiral Krok stood in Earth's United Defense Force headquarters, feeling oddly vulnerable without his battle fleet looming overhead. Captain Rodriguez sat across from him, sipping something called coffee that humans apparently required for optimal function. "Let me get this straight," she said, setting down her mug. "Your entire empire conquered thousands of worlds by essentially saying boo very convincingly. Our evolutionary path specialized in fear response manipulation," Krok admitted. "We never needed to develop planet-destroying weapons when our mere presence caused immediate capitulation. Until you met humans." "Yes." Krok's spines drooped slightly. "You're the first species to respond with curiosity instead of terror. And now that Dr. Freeman and Lieutenant Riker have accessed our conquest database." Rodriguez smiled. "You're afraid we'll spread the word that the big bad Zarnaxian Empire is all show?" Before Krok could respond, the door burst open and Grunk entered with Plix, both looking uncharacteristically animated. "Admiral," Plix exclaimed, "we've been exploring human culture further. They have an entire entertainment concept called haunted houses where they pay to be scared by other humans in costumes." Grunk nodded enthusiastically. "And virtual reality fear simulators. Their creativity and fear exploitation is unmatched in the galaxy. Rodriguez watched this exchange with growing amusement. Sounds like some of your crew are becoming human culture enthusiasts. A problematic development, Krok grumbled. Or, Rodriguez suggested, leaning forward, an opportunity. Your empire has conquered through fear, but humans have turned fear into entertainment, medicine, and sport. Maybe there's a collaboration that benefits both species. 3 months later, the first Zarnaxian Human Cultural Center opened on Earth. Humans lined up for blocks to experience authentic alien terror experiences, while Zarnaxian tourists cautiously sampled roller coasters and horror movie marathons. On the observation deck of the Devastator, now permanently stationed in Earth orbit as an embassy tourist attraction, Admiral Krok and Captain Rodriguez watched the proceedings. The Emperor was surprisingly amenable to this arrangement, Krok admitted. Especially once we explained the concept of theme parks and the profit potential. And the other species your empire has subjugated? Rodriguez asked. Krok's mouthparts formed the Zarnaxian equivalent of a wry smile. That's the interesting development. When word spread that humans responded to our fear displays with laughter, several worlds began experimenting. The Krell Collective has already requested human cultural advisors. Teaching the galaxy to laugh at their fears, Rodriguez mused. Not the first contact outcome anyone expected. Below them, Plix was enthusiastically leading a tour group through the ship's terror chambers, now repurposed as a haunted house attraction. Nearby, Gronk had become an unlikely social media sensation for his reaction videos to human horror movies. You know, Krok said thoughtfully, in thousands of years of conquest, we never considered that fear could be entertaining. And we never imagined meeting aliens who evolved specifically to be terrifying, Rodriguez replied. Yet here we are, planning an interstellar horror film festival. As they watched Zarnaxian tourists cautiously boarding their first roller coaster screaming in genuine terror, while the humans around them cheered, Admiral Krok realized an uncomfortable truth. Perhaps the Zarnaxians had never been the scariest species in the galaxy after all. That honor might belong to the bizarre, thrill-seeking creatures who looked danger in the face and asked, can we make this more extreme for next season? The most terrifying species in the cosmos had met humanity, and for the first time, knew fear. Not fear of human weapons or warfare, but the terrifying realization that somewhere in the universe existed creatures who found joy in the very concept of terror itself. And somehow, that was the most frightening thing of all.